how is that different than what was being done before? And more importantly, not so much how is it different, but because you're doing it different, what do you project the impact will be on your producers? I think that's the most important question.
Yeah, so I would agree. Listen, the past is the past. We were running the meetings a little differently. They were inconsistent at best and unproductive at worst. And then we did the training with you, and it just kind of opened our eyes. Most importantly, it allowed the CEO to kind of set his ego aside for a second and say, hey, Doug is really the best suited for technical sales training out of the group of us. And we decided that I would start leading the CRISP meetings. So I bring just kind of a different approach to those meetings, and I'm more able and willing to kind of stick to the script, stick to the plan, keep the meetings on schedule. So I think the biggest thing that's going to come out of it is our producers are going to be able to articulate things much better than they ever were in the past, because we're using the sales meetings to do the CRISP approach and also to dive into red hot introductions. And both of those things require a producer to really not just explore, but be able to speak about what they actually do and get past all of these challenges of like, well, what do you mean? Or be more specific and stuff like that. So we started the process with one of our most successful producers in the hot seat, guy's in his 50s and has, $2.5 million book of business. And he even learned a lot from his first go at just like, well, tell me why you deserve this person's business, what you're going to do differently, what differentiates you from any other person. So I think that's the biggest thing, is it's going to get them talking a little bit better, a lot better, to be honest.
You just never know when you're going to say something brilliant, and I want to catch
right.
you.
That's right.
So what's new in your world? We
had our first like real CRISP meeting on Friday, and I'd love to tell you that I crushed it. And I did. So, it was good. It was good. I really, really liked it.
So when you said this a while ago, it opened our eyes. What do you see differently?
What do we see differently?
Yeah. What do you see differently? I mean, cause you were a participant in there. So
I think, again, I wasn't running the meetings before, and I think we as a group saw an opportunity to just pull it together in a much more consistent fashion and mutually agree on a better approach. It's easy for a CEO to, schedule a sales meeting and come in and do his thing and do the rah-rah. And listen, it's effective in a lot of different ways. It's motivational, it's inspiring, it puts some pressure on people, it gives them a good name to live up to, and it has its value. I think just going through the process with you opened our eyes to just a slightly modified approach. We're still doing that. It's just we're taking this specific period of time on a specific day of the week and devoting it to a technique that we believe in. And that's allowing us to deliver a little bit more of a consistent approach to our producers, which I think is important. I'm very big on just kind of everybody's mental state and managing everybody's mental state. And I personally think that a meeting where you go in and know what to expect, like, all right, we're doing CRISP sales process and or red hot introductions. That's what we're doing when I walk into that meeting on Fridays at 10 a.m. is a little bit better. Maybe not better, but it's a little bit more in line with my type of approach than, all right, am I walking into a rah-rah session, or am I going to get my butt handed to me because I'm not doing so hot this week? There's a time and a place for everything. And we just decided that the time and the place for this approach is during that meeting, and the rest of the stuff will still happen when it happens.
Cool. So let's start off where we should have started off. Everybody, this is Doug Levy.
Oh, he just jumped right in. That's right.
Yeah, he's with BBIMI down in Fort Lauderdale. That's just a suburb of Miami, one would say.
Yeah.
And what is your role there? What is your title? What's your role? What's your thing, dude?
Sure. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer, and the consigliere and associate sales manager and jack of all trades and master of most of them, if I say so myself. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer, deal with day-to-day operations, support the entire team in whatever I can, and the CEO in a lot of just business development efforts.
Yeah. And I think I'm close to right. I mean, you guys have had a pattern of growing 30% year over year for a while now, haven't you?
Yes.
And you've got 7 producers, I think.
Yes.
of which 4 or 3 are multi-million dollar producers. A fourth is over $1 million, I think. It's a pretty remarkable.
Knocking on the door. We got 3 multi-million and 1 knocking on the door of $1 million and another one who will be there in short order as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's outstanding.
Thank you.
So, everybody's wondering, okay, did you give them big books? Did you, are you guys part of some sort of mafia that, money just rolls in and you're just doing it? Because everybody knows that Miami and Fort Lauderdale has a reputation. So what is it that you attribute this kind of year-over-year growth to?
Hard work, plain and simple. We put in the work. It's a combination of just pure hard work, but also taking a really intelligent approach to the way that we sell. Our producers are true insurance professionals. They know what they're talking about. They're not just going out and schmoozing and getting sketches on cocktail napkins and bringing them back to somebody else to quote and do all the real work. You'd be surprised at the type of work that our producers do, having books as large as they have. I mean, we see other agencies that are more streamlined than ours, have larger minimum premiums than we do, have a full new business marketing department for, their producers don't even have access to their CRM. We don't do that. And we still have large successful books of business, but we still see a lot of room for improvement, where we're looking at it as, if we've accomplished this with these efforts, imagine what we can accomplish with modified efforts, is really kind of what it is.
And part of what you're saying with that, I'm just going to, and just tell me if this is right or wrong.
Sure.
You could work a little harder, but I mean, people work really hard. So it's not so much about work harder. It's about sharpen the saw.
Absolutely.
And have it cut deeper, faster, for lack of a better term.
Absolutely. We don't have an agency minimum premium or revenue size. Our roots are based in small business, and we are moving away from that because we have to, in order to continue to grow and thrive. And we know that we can't be everything to everybody, and we're changing our mindset to say to a producer, if you can write a $10,000 revenue account or a $20,000 revenue account, why don't you just do that all the time instead of writing $2,000 revenue accounts and then landing a 10 or a 20 when when it falls in your lap, or when you get lucky, or when you do something interesting? Why not make consistent efforts toward those larger transactions, because we know that we can do them. It's really just a matter of instilling the confidence. And part of instilling that confidence is this approach of getting producers to articulate what it is that they do. I think that's one of the biggest problems a producer has. Most producers that I've ever met, I always said they have their heads up there, because they can't. They speak insurance, they talk insurance, and they know how to speak other people's language because they're good salespeople. But you can also find somebody that's insanely successful, like some of the people on our team, that still don't know how to say, this is what I do better than the guy down the street. So that's the saw that we're sharpening.
Yeah. So, and how do you see the tools or processes, some of what I taught you, some of what you've learned on your own, how do you see those doing that in a little way? I mean, because people are, certainly if I'm listening to this, I hear somebody really successful growing year over year, and they got out of 7 producers, 3 are multi-million-dollar producers, others are well on their way. Okay, well, that sounds pretty good, but it sounds like you're trying to get better. So how do you get better? What is the mechanism using to make that happen?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we can get better, and it would be stupid not to. That's why we're doing it. Just to back up and talk about the why. The why is we're already doing so well and thriving. Why would we do better? Because we can, and it would just be stupid to waste our efforts on not getting the maximum juice from the squeeze. That's really, I think that's one of the foundations for our success. Is our operations are very, very streamlined, very just dialed in. So we have the ability to maximize the juice. And what you bring to the table is a system that allows us that's in line with things that we already do. So I always say system, you know what system stands for, Randy?
What
Have
does
you
that
heard this
stand
one?
for?
This is going to be the brilliance. This is going to be the brilliance. You ready?
All right, ladies. Drum roll, please.
System stands for save yourself time, energy, and money.
Nice.
That's it. System, save yourself time, energy, and money. So we can have an approach. We can have a sales approach. We can have a doctrine. We can have a method. We can have all this, but it's nothing, or I wouldn't say it's nothing. It's not what it could be if there isn't a system. So between the Bignition system and the dialed in system that you have to script these crisp sales meetings and the red hot introductions and all the stuff that we're working on, it's a system. We plug into a system and it accelerates our progress in a lot of these ways.
It's awesome. So what do you see as the biggest challenge for an agency like yours going forward?
We're standing in our own way. I don't think we have any external challenges. I think a lot of our challenges are internal. I wouldn't say that they're anybody's fault. I would say that old habits die hard and that it's a little challenging to take somebody who's reasonably successful or very successful and make them even more successful. I wish we could go back however many years we need to teach these guys this stuff from the second they started so that they never even messed around with the stuff that saddled them throughout the first half a dozen years of their career or saddled their mindset where, if it's one of those things where like, if I learned this a decade ago, I'd be a very, very, very rich man and we'd be talking about 15 multi-million dollar producers and not 3 multis and $1 million, it'd be a totally different world. So our challenge lies in getting these guys not from A to Z, but from M to Z, because they're already successful, they're already making money.
Yeah.
So I think that just presents its own challenges, kind of letting go of an old mindset and adopting kind of a modified one in order to grow.
Yeah, it's interesting. You listen to Elon talk about either we have a democracy or a bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is where things that kind of take over and then Jamie Dimon, I was listening to with him. It's the same deal. It's like, the bureaucracy is going to push back. People don't want to change. And so when you're successful, change is hard, but change is hard when you're unsuccessful too.
Yep. Change is just hard, just by definition. It's by definition. By definition.
So to change, you've got to have something you want. And that's either because it's really inspiring or because you want to get away from something that's bad. And then there's a discipline associated with getting there. And one of the things that it appears to me, particularly with your COO credentials, right? It's like, I'm just going to call it operating discipline. The more you bring that to the table, and look, I mean, most people that I talk to don't have a hard time, particularly the entrepreneurial type leaders. It's hard for them being, they like being motivational and all that sort of stuff. And they like other people to have systems, but they don't like to really be the system or drive the system. And so one of the things I think is beautiful about your situation is that is recognized and acknowledged. And so you put the right people in the right place on the right bus and things take it to a new level. So what do you say about that when you look at, because you're part of the Liberty Mutual group of agents and you buy a lot of that sort of stuff, kind of like, what do you see out there is holding a lot of other people back that maybe they would relate with as you talk about this?
Yeah, first of all, I couldn't agree more that starting a business and being that entrepreneurial type, which I've done that in the past. I found my niche. My niche is in what I'm doing. My CEO is the dreamer, the visionary. I'm the guy where he says one sentence and I put a whole process in place to execute it, right? So we have that system in place where we both know what we're good at and can do those things. So I think that a lot of agencies that are trying to break through that first, glass ceiling of cracking through $2, $3, $5 million in revenue, which I think is probably where a lot of your customer base is. And it's that hump is you've got an owner who's probably the biggest producer in the agency and he's a good salesperson but he's also got to be the COO. He's also got to be the trainer, he or she. They also have to be the sales manager and stuff like that. And you just can't do it all. So I think an agency and its leadership need to have the vision of, we need to have the right resources to do this, where my producers can produce, my managers can manage, and my executives can execute. And I think when you get to that revenue range where it becomes even a possibility, you've passed the grind. You got past $1 million, $2 million in revenue. You have the resources to invest, presumably, in taking that 1 or 2 steps back, hiring somebody on for whatever that number is, taking 2 steps back to take 100 steps forward by freeing up your time to do what you need to do, and getting, like you said, the right people in the right seat. So I think that for a listener, that would be kind of a big takeaway, is making that leap to invest in an operations person or a sales manager or whatever's missing, whatever the missing piece is, because you can't wear all the hats. You can't get to $10 million in revenue if you're wearing all those hats. You just can't do it.
Plus, the other thing that, and I'm asking this with a lot of respect, you don't really don yourself as the world's greatest salesperson.
No,
I don't think. And so a lot of people think that in order to be quote unquote sales leader, do the kind of stuff we're talking about here, people have to respect you as being a great salesperson. I think the opposite. I'm not sure the opposite is true, but I think what is true is, if you can drive a process, challenge producers and help them become better, they'll respect the hell out of you. And so there was this one large firm I was talking to, and I was saying, like, man, we can go train all your guys in the wedge. It'll be nice. It's like taking a bath. Everybody's going to smell pretty fresh for a while, but you got to you keep rebate them. And the way you keep rebate them is by running Chris Sells Me. Chris Sells Me is what you need to do, but it's an operational thing. It's not a raw entrepreneurial thing. And so many of these large aggregate firms, their problem and the reason they struggle to grow so much is they don't have a sales operational person.
Right.
So nobody's driving a process.
I would agree. Going back to what you said before, you're right. I am a good salesperson, but if I was an amazing salesperson, I'd be selling. I wouldn't be COOing.
Right.
I think, look at any professional sport and look at all of the Hall of Fame coaches. How many of them were Hall of Fame players, and how many of them were players at all? And it's often very, very few. Look at Miami Heat, Eric Spoelstra. He's what, 5'9" on a good day and couldn't dunk on my toddler if he tried? A great player does not make a great coach, and a great coach does not need to be a great player. A great coach needs to understand the game and be able to teach and motivate other people. And I think that's something that is lost on a lot of people. There's a lot of organizations that try to take their best salesperson and turn that person into a sales manager, to literally everyone's detriment. That's a story that's as old as business itself. So I think that's something that definitely warrants avoidance. And yeah, you have to have like you said, the sales operations is very different than the rah-rah and the motivation and the leadership and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I want to ask you a question. I know that we talked to your firm for a couple of years before you finally made a decision to go with Bignition.
Yep.
And for those people who don't know, Bignition, we call it the triple threat solution, and that it's a sales training platform, sales skill building. It's a leadership building, sales leadership building platform and training. And then it's tied up with a CRM type technology that just matches up step by step with all that stuff, versus a Salesforce.com might be the world's largest and fastest growing CRM company on the planet, but it doesn't really support the processes we're trying to get people like you to do. So you looked at a lot of things. How did this finally meet your criteria? Can you speak about that at all?
A sales-oriented system. This is going to sound kind of stupid, but it's the only way I can think to say it. A sales-oriented system needs to be sales-oriented. And there's a lot of CRMs that kind of masquerade as a sales tool, but don't really usher you through the sales process. They just kind of provide a home for data. Um, the large insurance CRMs do that. They're not the best sales tools out there, especially when your sales are designed around a specific approach. Salesforce is the same thing. Salesforce is everything to everybody, and it's not necessarily geared toward a sales methodology. I think that's the difference. These things are geared toward, here's your list of leads, here's where you can document all your activity, but it's not really helping you actually sell. And Bignition helps you actually sell if you follow the process and use the software the way that it's supposed to be used. Obviously, it's all garbage in, garbage out. So your outcomes from a software are going to be in direct proportion to your utilization of it. I won't say that our utilization of Bignition is perfect, because it's not, but it's still a something is better than nothing to an extent. It's not something is better than nothing, that you have to have this like baseline of engagement. Otherwise, it's just a waste of money. But we have a level of engagement where it shows you what you can do, and it walks you through that process. And especially since we started really getting more disciplined about these meetings and using the meetings to have somebody drive Bignition and really familiarize themselves with Bignition, that's been helpful as well. But the bottom line is, most CRMs are not really sales methodology driven. This one is. And when you look at the transaction sizes in our industry and the ability to earn, something doesn't have to have a huge upside in order to pay for itself. You know what I'm saying? Something that's $25,000 a year, $50,000 a year. You just need you just need to land one or two or three or four big deals in an entire year for the thing to pay for itself in its first year.
And then the interesting thing is, because you landed those big deals, if you really look at the reciprocal income, once you pay for it for first year, it pays for itself the rest of its life.
Exactly.
That's a whole different thing. Yeah, it's in designing it, my goal was for it to be something that is both producer centric and sales leadership centric, in that we're trying to get producers motivated. So let's do better goal setting. We're trying to give producers something to go win with, so better black and white differentiation. Okay, so let's include that in there. We're trying to get producers setting more appointments, so let's teach them how to set appointments and work rate introductions. And like firms like yours and firms like every firm on the planet, almost, whatever today's revenue is, you could pretty much easily double your agency just through introductions. And so much of that is about intent, discipline. And I think it's
all about intent and discipline.
Yeah, is that now with that mindset going into this, I can see your next couple of years being even more fantastic.
Huge.
Because you're breaking those elements of it down and driving it.
Yeah. Absolutely. It doesn't, it's almost stupid how little it takes to grow if you focus your energy in the right places. And listen, it's not easy to do. A little side note, like for the past 6 or 7 years, I've been a guest presenter at a small business entrepreneurial educational program that the Jim Moran Institute does through Florida State University. So I come in and do a lecture on operations to every class session that they have 3 or 4 times a year. And it's all small businesses. And one of the things that I say to them that I kind of disclaim throughout my presentation in order to maintain some credibility is, listen, I know you're wearing a lot of hats right now. I know this isn't going to happen overnight, but if you don't focus on it at all, it's never going to happen. So I think it's important for businesses, for smaller businesses and businesses that want to grow, to not get stuck in this all or nothing fallacy where they think they've got to just fully dive in head first right from the outset. Or else nothing's going to happen. I mean, we've kind of been getting into the Bignition pool probably a little slower than I would have liked to, but we're still running a business and we're still successful and we're still doing our thing. But once you start to focus on it, it starts to come together. But it doesn't happen overnight, and it'll never happen overnight. And sometimes you can only spend a couple hours a week working on something like this before you launch it or whatever. So I think avoiding that all or nothing approach is kind of an important, thing to keep in mind when working on something like this, because a lot of people just they look up at the mountain and they just don't even start. They just turn around. That's a problem that everybody has.
So let me ask you a question. Can you imagine trying to hire new producers without a system like this or something equivalent?
Can I imagine? I've done it 100 times. And I don't have 100 producers, so the math isn't adding up.
Right.
You get my drift.
Yeah. It's just finding good talent is hard. Vetting that talent to see if what you see is real is hard. Bring the talent on and then putting them on a prescription that you can, as a manager, manage and lead, as a producer, learn in progress, and come out of that with a reasonable amount of confidence that you can go beat your competition that's got 15 years on you and you've got 90 days in the business.
Yeah,
I've seen that happen a lot.
Yeah, listen, it's having a system listen, like I said, save yourself time, energy, and money. You can hire producers without a system. There's a lot of agencies that do. We've done it, and it's not unheard of to have a unicorn or two where you just listen, it's everybody's dream. It's every agency principal's dream to just find that producer where you hire them. You plop them at the desk, you give them a cursory amount of training, and they're just a natural, and they can just do it all, and they become successful. The problem is when you start seeing that person as the rule and not the exception. That person is the exception. Always has been, always will be. They're out there. There are a lot of them, but imagine how many more successful producers there could be if you invested your time and energy in having a system for them. The producer success rate is so low to begin with that you really, really have to hedge your bet. And if you ever do the back of the napkin math about how expensive it is to hire a producer, all the resources that are involved, all the training, all of the base pay that you have to give them before they start validating, all of the time that they take away from other people asking the stupid questions that they don't know the answers to in the first few months or year or whatever, it is far more expensive than anybody even believes it is. It's like a minimum $250,000 investment, even if you're paying somebody $50,000 a year to start. So why not hedge your bet? It'd be silly not to.
Yeah. So, tell us, just so we get to know Doug a little bit, tell us a little bit about you personally. I mean, who is Doug? What does he do living down there in Fort Lauderdale?
That's an interesting turn. Well, so I am sticking to the insurance thing for a second, just because that's where we are. I'm one of those people that found insurance by accident. I think there's two types of people. There's by accident and by family, right?
Yeah.
99% of the people in insurance found it by accident or by family. And then there's 11 people around the country that got a risk management degree at some university and actually got into the insurance business on purpose. So I'm one of those by accident people. I got an afternoon job at an Allstate agency when I was 17 years old and went through college, got a degree at the University of Florida, and then graduated and came back home and was like, I'll go back to that Allstate agency until I get a real job. And then that turned out to be my real job. And then I had a good client of mine that really liked what I was doing and said, hey, why don't you and I start an agency together? So we did, and we ran it 50-50 for about 9 years and then had some kind of irreconcilable differences and parted ways. I sold my half of the agency to him, and then I came here. I've been here for a decade, and I've got a beautiful wife and a couple little ones. So I'm in the grind with a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And oddly enough, I lost all my hair before they were even born. But I did. My beard was black when my son was born, but now it's not. And I like that we do something that's misunderstood. We have an opportunity to educate people. We have an opportunity to serve our community in a way that I feel is noble and something that I can feel good about. I think a lot of people can feel good about a lot of things. I feel good about this, and I'm really inspired by teaching people, which I think is, again, when you talk about coaching, I don't have to be the best salesperson in the room. I have to be the best teacher about sales in the room if that's what I'm going to do, and I enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I wish we had about another 1,000 people like you, because that
would water down my value. So I'm glad that we don't.
Well, there you go. But But the value you bring to an agency is amazing and so needed. And so many CEOs see themselves as operation guys, and sales is sales, and so many, like I said, agency owners see themselves as great sales guy, but nobody wants to do the sales management, sales leadership. And so this is a huge vacuum in
Agree.
95, 6, 7, 8, 9% of agencies. It's just a huge vacuum. And what a big opportunity.
It's a huge opportunity, and you have to be bold. You just have to be bold. That would be if I were to give some unsolicited advice to anybody listening, it's be bold. People like me don't come cheap, but we create an insane amount of value. And if you want to grow, that's what you need. Another thing that I tell people in those small business lectures that I do is you can't think about your business you can't think that you're spending money. You're investing money. Think about the ROI, the return on investment of every single dollar that you're putting to work in your company. And people like my role, for example, or just whether it's me or somebody else, whatever, the architecture of having a leader or having a top sales dog and having somebody else who's the teacher and has the time to go around and do the one-on-ones, whatever it is. It's a huge ROI, but it takes a bold mindset to find that person, hire that person, pay them what they're worth, and invest and empower that person to do the job. Because that's the other thing, is you have to be empowered. I'm empowered by my CEO to do the work that I do, and it helps it come to bear.
Yes, it's awesome when you have a CEO that when you upset one of your producers, and you will if you're doing your job well, the CEO just kind of smiles and says, yeah, well, just get back in there, let's go. And they certainly don't sympathize. They might empathize for about a half a second, but then they just get back in there, let's go do the business. This is what we're about. Stay on mission. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Doug Levy, BBIMI. Man, we so appreciate you jumping on and having this call with us today. Keep doing an awesome job. Yeah.
You too, Randy. Thanks so much for having me.